Hello dear friends, this is Dr. Sajadwani. So till now we have dealt with the fundamental rights up to Article 30, and I also told you about the right to property which was present in the Constitution of India in Article 31 and which was later on deleted by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978. So today we will deal with the exceptions of the fundamental rights. I have already told you under the right to property that Article 31A, Article 31B and Article 31C, they have been retained as the exceptions to the fundamental rights. And we will throw some light on Article 31A, 31B and 31C today. So first we will deal with Article 31A. I already told you that Article 31A, that's an exception to the fundamental rights. So we will start. Article 31A, it was added by the first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951. I told you that there has always been a tussle between the Parliament and the judiciary. Because of certain provisions in the Constitution, whenever the state that made acts for the implementation of various policies, at that time the people, they used to approach the court because of the violation of their fundamental rights, especially the erstwhile Article 31, Article 14 and Article 19 of the Constitution of India under Part 3. So the First Amendment Act of 1951, it was aimed to add various provisions, and one of them was Article 31A, and it gave protection to certain categories of laws. So first you remember that Article 31A, it was added by the first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951. This is the first point you will remember. And why it was added? It was added in order to save 5 categories of laws. You have to remember that. I have placed an acronym, that is LIC. These laws, they were related to agricultural land reforms. L means land reforms, I means industry, and C means commerce. Right? So Article 31A, what was the aim of adding Article 31A in the Constitution of India? The aim was to save the laws which were related to the agricultural land reforms, the industry and the commerce. And there were the 5 categories of laws which were saved by Article 31A. So what were the 5 categories of laws? The 5 categories of laws, they were the laws made by the Parliament and those laws made by the state legislature which were kept for the consideration of the President and which finally received the presidential assent. Because you know that there are certain state laws which the governor, he keeps them for the consideration of the President, and they are finally sent to the President for his consideration and they receive the assent of the President. So if such laws which were related to the land reforms, the industries and commerce, in the 5 categories of course, and in the states which were kept for the consideration of the President and which finally received the assent of the President, they received the assent of the President, they were also protected under Article 31A. The 5 categories of laws, it's not important to remember the 5 categories of laws. At least you will remember that these laws, they were related to the land reforms, industries and commerce. The 5 categories of laws, they were related to the acquisition of the states, they were related to the taking or the management of the properties by the state, they were related with the amalgamation of the corporations, they were related with the modification of the rights of directors and shareholders of the corporations, and they were also related with the modification of the mining leases. So these were the 5 categories of laws. It is not important to remember the 5 categories, but it is important to remember that these categories of laws, they were related to the land reforms, industries and commerce. Right? So Article 31A, it protects 5 categories of laws, and it saves only those 5 categories of laws from being challenged in the Supreme Court or from being challenged and invalidated on the ground that they are in contravention of the fundamental rights enshrined in Article 14 and Article 19 of the Constitution of India. You must remember. So I told you that Article 31A, it was added by the first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1955. Why it was added? It was added to save 5 categories of laws. The 5 categories of laws related to the acquisition of the estates, related to the management of the properties of the state by the state, related to the amalgamation of the corporations, modification of the rights of the directors and shareholders of the corporations, and modification of the mining leases. These 5 categories of laws, related to the land reforms, industries and commerce, they were the laws made by the parliament, and some of them they were also the laws made by the states, but only those laws which were kept by the governor for the consideration of the president and received the assent of the president, right? So Article 31A, it saves the 5 categories of laws from being challenged for being in contravention or from being invalidated for being in contravention with the fundamental rights granted under Article 14 and Article 19. So I told you that some of the laws which the parliament found that they were in contravention with Article 14 and 19, they were placed under Article 31A to be saved from the judicial review. You must remember this, right? And this article, this is a very important article. It contains a provision, additional provision, which was later on added to this article. I told you that Article 31A, it was not there in the Constitution of India when the Constitution of India came into existence, but it was later on added in 1951. But one more provision was added to Article 31A, that was added by the 17th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1964. By the 17th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1964, and a provision was added to Article 31A, and that provision provided for the compensation. I already told you under right to property that there are only two provisions where the compensation has to be paid by the state. This is one of the provisions where the compensation is to be paid by the state at the market value, and the compensation is paid when the state acquires the land, right? When the state acquires a land that is held by a person under his personal cultivation. This is the condition first. And the land which is held by the person under his personal cultivation is within the statutory ceiling limit. So I told you that Article 31A, it was not there in the Constitution of India. It was later on added by the first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951. And what is the purpose of Article 31A? The purpose of Article 31A is that it saves 5 categories of laws from being challenged and from being invalidated on the ground that they are in contravention with Article 14 and Article 19. So there were some laws which were in contravention with Article 14 and 19, and the people who were aggrieved, they approached the judiciary, and the judiciary gave rulings. In order to nullify these things, the parliament made this 31st Amendment Act. Article 31A. And it was added by the First Amendment Act, and it saved the 5 categories of laws related to the acquisition of estates, related to the management of properties by the state, related to the amalgamation of corporations, modification of rights of directors and shareholders, and modification of mining leases. And the 5 categories of laws were the parliamentary laws, and only those state laws which were kept for the consideration of the president and which received the assent of the president. And this Article 31A, it also contains a provision which was later on added by the 17th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1964, and that provision, it provided for the thing which is known as the compensation. It provided for the compensation at the market values, and this is the only provision apart from another provision in Article 30, which I have already told you, when the state acquires the property of a minority educational institution. I already told you in Article 30 that there's a provision when the state acquires the property of a minority educational institution, it has to pay the compensation. Now, under Article 31A, we have another provision which was added by the 17th Amendment Act, which provides for the provision of compensation. So, this says that when the state acquires the land which is held by a person under his personal cultivation and which is within the statutory ceiling limit, if it fulfills both these criteria, then the state is bound to pay the compensation at market value. This provision is present in Article 31A. So this is all about Article 31A. If you have any queries, please comment in the comment section of the YouTube video. Thank you so much for watching this video. In the next lecture, I will talk about Article 31B, and then we will talk about Article 31C.